This is another episode in the Belman Chronicles, A Long Day's Journey into Hell, the tale of Felicity the Fierce, brought to you by Faery Finder. Do your keys mysteriously disappear? Do your tools turn up in strange places? Are your cows always out of milk? You may have a fairy infestation. Download Faery Finder today so you can scan for signs of the Fae and make them go away. And you thought your job sucked. Fire, shaped like a dragon's head, racing through the tunnel, headed straight for her. It hit, knocking her to the ground. She tried to cry out, but the pain was too great. Helplessly, she watched as her skin turned black and crumbled to ash. Felicity woke with a start. She was still in her tent. Somebody had left food by her cot. "I don't want to go to work," moaned Felicity as she picked up her breakfast. The maple bacon donut dissolved in her mouth like salty, sweet cotton candy. Not bad for a last meal. The nausea from the anti-cancer potions eased a little. Popping the last bite of the sweet treat into her mouth, she gave thanks to her savored Jesus. At least now she had something to throw up. Dry heaves were the worst. Felicity was one of 4 crawlers at the annual Belman fertility rite. In less than an hour, they'd descend into a fiery pocket of hell to retrieve ancient artifacts. Meanwhile, a sadistic dragon would slowly roast them alive with its pipe organ of pain. This was her 5th time here. Why did she choose to suffer like this? She told herself it was for Cassie. She pulled out her mage mirror so she could paint runes on her face and braid her fake fireproof hair. "Shiri, open Mage Book," she said, and checked out the spells people had been casting. "You make the ultimate sacrifice. We owe you everything. Love from our family to yours, the Bell Farmer. You give me courage to face the darkness. Hashtag Shield Maiden. Hashtag Felicity the Fierce. From North Gal. Do it for your baby girl. Hashtag coming back. Honey Muffin." Felicity barely held back the tears and her throat throbbed. Fans kept her going, but her 12-year-old girl Cassie was a reason for living. Wincing, she clutched her side, trying to breathe through the pain. She could feel the cancer spreading through her like squirmy maggots. How long did she have? A month? A year? It didn't matter. Who wanted to live forever? Best to go out quick in a blaze of glory. Instead, she'd be slow roasted alive. But if she pulled off this last score, Cassie would be trained as a sorceress at RJ's School of Magic. Her mirror chimed. It was her daughter. "Cassie!" They had a call before every crawl, just in case. "Mommy, I want you to know I love, love, love you. You're the best mommy in the whole wide world." "Thanks, baby girl. I do it for you so you can have the life I couldn't." "Mommy," Cassie began to cry. "Please don't do it. I don't want you to burn." "Baby girl, you know the tortured one, the protector of crawlers, walks with me. He gives me the strength to bear my burden. Remember what I always say? The more you suffer, the more it shows you really care." Cassie covered her face, clearly crying. Now, don't you worry. I'm coming back. I always do. Besides, they have good healers here, some of the best. Now promise me you'll study hard. One day, you're going to be the best sorceress ever." "I will, Mommy, I promise." "I'll fight the dragons and you do your homework. Deal?" "Deal." "'Kay, dearest, I gotta go." They made smooching sounds and signed off. Felicity lost her shit, sobbing. The tears poured down her face. "You are coming out of this. You won't let Cassie down." It was like somebody had fanned the furnace. A hot blast of pain welled in her chest. She barely got the hanky to her mouth before she began coughing bright red blood. The fit subsided, and she began reciting the prayer the priest had taught her. Tortured one, hear my prayer. Help me endure this suffering. Light giver, guide me through the darkness. Jesus, you are all that is Gouda. Please protect me and bring me home to Cassie. By all the saints and spirits I pray, Amen. Breathing deeply, she put on her game face. It was time to win. Let the trials begin. Welcome back, said Adele, the announcer for the Magic Mirror Network, or MMN. Mayor Tom Schnittelmeyer is on stage introducing our heroes. A short, white-haired, plump man with an absurdly large top hat stepped out onto the stage. His bird's nest of white beard was decorated with flowers and bows to symbolize spring. As he announced the other crawlers, Felicity watched from backstage, adjusting the full-body leather armor that would protect her from the dragon's lethal breath. Strap and Jack carried a mysterious black leather umbrella and a huge pack. Cragnar the Barbarian's crotch pouch was impressive, but Rocknass's badger-headed cock pocket was what caught her eye. Slinging her shield on her back, she watched the crowd of techno-zombies. Their eye mirrors were out, and they were bewitched by Magebook, or Feta, or whatever it was called now. She's 5 feet 10 inches and filled with fury. Weighing 137 pounds, this shield maiden is the underdog everybody loves. Lads and lassies, she's the killer queen fighting for her daughter's future and ours. Let's hear it for Felicity! The sweet smell of beer, sweat, and funnel cakes filled the air as she strode casually onto stage. Hands raised high, her dark eyes outlined in black charcoal. The crowd's roar was the loudest yet. Then she made her best Felicity the Fierce face, and the crowd hooted and howled like bambonos from the southern desert. Walking by the massive barbarian, she shoulder-checked him, and he actually budged. An ooh, 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 ooh filled the air. He nodded approvingly as she checked out her backside, following the short red braids over her black leather armor, and stopped at the strange square shield she called a firewall. That pretty hair is gonna get burned off at the first blast of dragon's breath there, sweetie, shouted an old toothless woman whose large mole had a couple of whiskers sticking out of it. The hair's fireproof, you old bag. Felicity smiled but said nothing. Besides, she hadn't had hair in over a year. Damn potions. Personally, she thought bald was beautiful. But if something happened, she might need to play the damsel in distress card to get out of the fiery underworld. Guys wouldn't help a bald chick, but they'd save a red-headed hottie, and she'd do anything to get back to her baby girl. Fellow citizens and honored guests, today 4 brave crawlers entered the Unterwelt to retrieve the sacred artifacts. By the tortured one, they suffer so that we will not. They sacrifice their blood to mycelia so that our crops will thrive and our children will not starve. May the luck of the players favor them, and may they all return bearing boons. Trumpets blared, and people danced around like monkeys as war drums pounded a song of resolution. Felicity caught a blur passing over the crowd. It was an eye of Dagoth, or Sky Eye. They were barely visible floating eyes that followed the crawlers on their journey, broadcasting a live feed back to the MMN for everyone to see. Mayor Schnittelmeyer summoned the crawlers over. When the first crawler returns victorious, the dragon will hear the crowd's cheers and grow angry. Then you must race against a fiery death. We will risk our lives to save you if you make it back up to the 3rd level, but no deeper. You will still keep all your treasure and glory points. The only other rule is no attacking or stealing from other crawlers or their crew. The Sky Eyes will be watching everything. Oh, and I could tell you more, but if I don't, our ad revenues will double. He smiled at the contestants. May the players' luck favor you, he said as he rolled imaginary dice. Felicity knew that smile. I don't care as long as my little girl gets her piece of the pie. They drew lots, and Felicity went first. Sword drawn, she stepped through the gateway and into the underworld. Taking point was always a mixed bag. Yes, she had to spring the traps and ambushes, but she also got first crack at any boons the players might bestow. She was going for the shield of Shalandrigal. It was deep in the dungeon, and she needed the head start. If somebody went for the closest prize, the dragon would start attacking, so it was critical she didn't squander any time. The sickly, sweet reek of goblin urine punched her in the nose. It was their welcome scent, but quickly dissipated as she stepped cautiously down the stairs and past the cave walls before her toe caught on something and she stumbled. It was the Belman curse. Even dwarves found their footing unsure in this dungeon. The first tunnel she entered glowed with a purple and green bioluminescent fungus. At its end, a stolid white figure appeared out of the gloom. The players had sent her a companion. Apothecary's the name, Felicity Fierce. It's a pleasure to serve such a renowned shield maiden, she said. I'm a combat medic and can hold my own in these tunnels. Felicity kept moving. Praise be the players. You're one of the best. Sorry I can't stop. Every second lost brings me closer to agony. Which way to the shield of Shalandrigal, she said. A dwarven war song croaked out behind her. Rockanass, or Butt Boy, wasn't far behind. This way, said Carrie, ducking into a tunnel. Passing a hole in the wall, Apothecary pointed. I only made that mistake once, said Felicity, recalling the first and only time she had borne the brunt of a direct blast of dragon's breath. What burn butter did you bring? Asked Apothecary. Barney's best, said Felicity. Good. I have hallowed Vera and Sarah's super savvy salve. Felicity's foot caught on a rock, sending her sprawling into the wall, almost giving her a concussion. This fucking dungeon. Sorry about that. I don't know what it is about this place, she said. I'll let you in on a secret, girlfriend. This dungeon is the stomach of an inconceivable monstrosity that lives beneath Belman. What? The cult of Mycelia. An angry roar echoed through the tunnels. A troll has our scent. Must move faster, said Carrie, climbing down a ladder into a room. She noticed a blue glowing bottle sitting on a shelf. Minor potion of healing, said Apothecary. Whichever player is riding and guiding you has blessed you. A dark-clad figure emerged from the gloom, and Felicity almost jumped. Pardon, I'm Master Thief, and I am sent to serve. Snow's the name, said a merc emerging from a different tunnel. Damn, girlfriend, the players' luck is with you today, said Apothecary. Praise be the players, Felicity shouted fervently, her fist extended in salute. Praise be the players, said the squad. Then everything went horribly awry. Master Thief had just finished picking the lock when a deep rumble rolled through Felicity's bones. She raised her firewall just before the blast of searing heat hit. A wall of orange, seething fury billowed close behind. Get in now, shouted Snow. Everybody dove for cover as the fireball exploded into the room. The putrid, sweet stench of burning hair filled the air. She thought back to previous crawls and tried not to think how badly she had been burned before. Move, she said as they raced to the other locked door. The shield's through here, said Master Thief. I'm coming, Cassie, she thought. Her hands shook as she struggled to put the key in the lock. She had moved fast. Maybe this time she'd get out of here with only minor burns. The door swung open, and she burst into the chamber. The pedestal in the center of the room was empty. Her heart sank. Fuck, fuck, fuck! The walls rumbled as an orange cloud roiled towards them. Instinctively, she hit the floor, landing on an old rug. Grabbing the rug's corner, she pulled it over herself. The rug shot up and flipped. Her head cracked against the stone. No light head pounding, sword hands scalded. Players, no, that could be fatal. The rug pressed down and she struggled to breathe. Her elbow felt like it had been smashed by a hammer. What now? There was too little glory in the Ankh if this was her last crawl. She had to make a run for the plate mail of Shilandrigal. Fuck. The rug pulled back. An apothecary stood above her. Come on, you got this. She dabbed Sarah's super savvy salve on Felicity's burns. The pain numbed. Drink, she said, handing Felicity the minor potion of healing. What happened? She moaned. Master Thief lifted the rug's corner and it rolled over in midair before flattening out. Ain't that a flying carpet? Asked Snow. Her face felt sunburned, but Felicity winced as she smiled. Everybody on! The carpet flew down the tunnel as fast as a human could run. I really, really, really don't want to be down here. They were on the dreaded 6th level, the deepest, most dangerous level of all, and the dragon's attacks were happening more often. At least I won't worry about stumbling. Getting back up to level 3 would be tough, even with the key in the carpet. Stalag up, shouted Snow, barely dodging to the side as the carpet swerved to avoid the hanging column of rock. Her mouth was stuffed with a dry rag. Cradling her raw hand, she winced at every bump. She needed healing and knew just the place to get it. The carpet swooshed into a room lit by a blue-white pool in a corner. Felicity sighed. Shilandrigal's breastplate wasn't far now, but first, she hopped off the carpet and stuck her hand in the ice-cold pool. It tingled and glowed as it healed. Players be praised. Scooping up a handful of water, she drank deeply. Each gulp took away more pain. Dirt shook from the ceiling, and a blast of heat burst into the chamber. Felicity prepared to dive into the shallow pool, but thought twice. She really didn't want steam burns from wet leather. Time was running out. The 6th level was the worst place to be. Only the most daring, insane, or desperate crawlers came here. Faster, she said, as they zipped down through the corridor. An unexpected surprise. The breastplate of Shilandrigal gleamed. The stag and lion on its golden facade glistened ferociously. It was the most valuable artifact in the dungeon, but there was no time to admire it. Much glory, said Snow, as he lifted the armor and Carrie pulled it on board. Something black and slimy plopped onto Felicity's hand. Get back, she shouted. A giant black blob of goo splattered on top of their head. Felicity rolled over the edge of the carpet, jamming her knee painfully into the floor. Then she pulled up her blade. She tried to stand, slicing and tear her way through the slime, but she couldn't feel her hands or face, and it was hard to tell which way was up. Desperately, she cut and swiped and finally broke through. Fire! Only way to kill it, she said, pulling the torch from her pouch. She uttered a cantrip, a secret word, and it burst into flame. Master Thief was poking the goo with his torch. The abomination sizzled and popped, then cringed away from the fire. Get off me, she said, jabbing the blob as it crawled up her boots. Please don't let me catch fire. The blob slid away, leaving behind a slimy trail of flaming piles of goo. Why can't I feel my hands and face? It's the ooze. It's a cursed blessing from the players. There was no time to think. She flung her burn butter on the ground. Worthless shite. She quickly filled her empty jar with black ooze. Maybe she could grow it outside the dungeon. Everybody on the carpet, we gotta go. Snow pitched the armor back onto the slimy rug as the carpet started flying forward. Carrie slipped off the carpet, but Felicity grabbed a strap and heaved her up. Praise be the players, she whispered. She was in the game. Barely. Just when everything was going so well. The exit wasn't far away. Without the carpet, they would surely have died by now. As it was, their luck ran out as they rounded a corner on the 2nd level. The jet of fire shot out of the wall, hitting them squarely in the side. The carpet flipped and Felicity was thrown to the jagged stone floor. Cassie stood in front of her in a field of cheese flowers. "Get up, Mommy, get up." But it was so peaceful here. It was heaven. Oh, crap. Going into shock. Can't keep going. Fortunately, if you could say it, you could still go a lot further. Her wicked stepmother had taught her that lesson when she beat Felicity unconscious. When Felicity woke up, her stepmom did it again and again and again. It had been a cursed blessing. That day had been hell, but it had shown her the limits of endurance weren't what she thought they were. That attitude had defined her career as a crawler. She'd been pushed beyond the breaking point so many times, and somehow she always survived. Why do I torture myself? Do I value myself so little? Let's get real here. My life has no meaning. I whore myself out to fucking hicks and their damn fertility rights. I trade pain for fame and gold. I must be one of the dumbest suckers in the whole kingdom. I'm done. Please, dear Jesus, just get me out of this, and I promise I will serve you until the end of days. Just bring me home to my baby girl. What was that mind protection spell? It was a litany she had learned from the desert warriors. Pain is the mind killer. It is not me. I will let it pass through me. Only I will remain. M'lady, said Master Thief. What? Moaned Felicity. The carpet's gone. It flew off. Felicity struggled to her feet. Move. Out of time. Blessed players, please, no trolls or goblins. A goblin behemoth lumbered down the hall towards her. Her luck had run out. "We got this!" cried Snow as her three companions ran towards the beast. Snow went low and Carrie went high. "Thank you, friends," she whispered. "I pray we meet again someday in the fields of fondue." The more you suffer. Was doing so well, thought Felicity. Every step was agony, but strangely distant. That ooze had helped numb the pain. She saw the shimmer of a sky eye near her face. Is it going for a flarking close-up? She swiped. It clanked against the wall. Ow, ow, ow. Shouldn't have done that. She swatted it with her burn hand and her shoulder. She stood still for a second to let the pain subside. The MMN is a network of drama vampires feeding on my suffering. Viewers everywhere were probably tuned in to see whether or not she would die. Not true, said a deep voice inside her. Calm your mind. Breathe. You know why you are here. You are a holy sacrifice. Act like it. You trod the path of the tortured one, the path to a meaningful life of suffering so that others do not have to. Must get back to Cassie. The voice spoke again. The more you suffer, the more you show you really care. A figure stood in front of her, beckoning her towards the exit. It was him. It was the tortured one, patron saint of the crawlers. He had suffered like she now suffered. He had traveled through the valley of darkness and passed beneath the shadow of death. She began reciting his mind-protecting mantras. Thank you for this cursed blessing, O Lord and Master. Step. May I suffer so that others don't have to. Step. Thank you for the chance to make a sacrifice that makes a difference. Step. In an absurd world, sacrifice brings meaning. Step. Because I suffer, a mother won't watch her child starve to death. Step. I suffer because I have the strength to bear what would destroy others. Step. I was lost, but now I'm found. Step, I am the tortured one who died so that others might live. Each step felt like a hit from that old witch's switch. In the blink of an eye, she saw the cycle of violence and hate that had haunted her family for generations. I forgive you, for you knew not what you did. Step, thwack. But I do, and that curse ends with me. Step, thwack. Tortured one, please take my burden, for I can bear it no longer. Step. Felicity's toe bumped stone, but she didn't fall. Looking up, she saw she was at the bottom of the stairs. She had made it. She was so close. But close only counted with ballistas and trebuchets. The dragon's roar shook the tunnels. This was the sound of the apex predator, and she was its prey. So she did what prey does and froze in terror. The wall of heat seared her skin. She felt like she was standing on the Lightbringer itself. Suddenly, the bright orange ball burst into the tunnel like a pack of hellhounds. Oh, Blair's, no, please, no. It was getting closer. Please, no, not again, please. Felicity cried just a little as the wall of fire rolled closer and closer. It quickly dimmed and disappeared in the darkness. She was alive. Felicity turned and began walking up the stairs. The crowd was the quietest crowd in the history of the crawl. Jaws hung loosely and tongues lolled out of mouths. Then it exploded with laughter and hoots and hollers, making the most noise in the entire history of the Belman crawl, except maybe once. Peasants jumped up and down in ecstatic glee. Her trial was complete. She had been reforged in fire. Blessed be the players. Praise Jesus. And most of all, thank you, tortured one. 2 years later. The Belman festival was in full swing, and the streets were busy, busy, busy. A grilled cheese sandwich hung above the door to a shop called the Sacramental Sandwich. The place served mostly comfort food. Looks yummy, Raceland thought as he turned up the walkway to the tortured one crawler supply. A young girl skipped up its stairs, turning to smile at him before going inside. This store was owned by Felicity the Fierce. The 5-time crawler had a spiritual epiphany and had been miraculously cured of her cancer. Now she sold the best gear on the circuit. He noticed Felicity the Fierce's fire fudge sitting on a shelf. The label read, "Prevents, numbs, and heals burns." Genius, he thought. "Did you feed Monster?" asked the woman behind the counter. Judging by her short red hair, that must be Felicity. "I'm on my way," said the young girl, grabbing a bucket and slipping out the back door. RJ noted the yew log behind the counter from which hung a sacrificed man and a vulture eating his liver. It was the tortured one. He stole fire from the gods. As revenge, they cursed him to eternal suffering, but they couldn't take the knowledge his sacrifice gave rise to all of civilization. Why haven't we set him free? "May I help you?" asked the lady. "Are you, by chance, Felicity?" "Yes." "My name is Raceland Jazir, MD, that's magical detective. I have a niece who is infected by a zombie mushroom, and I'm looking into miraculous cures." "According to my priest, the tortured one didn't perform a miracle," said Felicity. "He took away the self-hate that was causing my cancer, but he didn't cure me. He just helped my body heal itself." That was disappointing. The two talked a little more before wrapping things up. "Is that your sandwich shop next door?" "Yes," she said. "You have a lot of energy," he said. "Almost dying will do that to you," she said with a wry smile. "What's your specialty?" "My signature sandwich was sent to me from the Saver. It's slices of sourdough filled with gooey melted cheddar, grilled onions, fig jam, and aioli. Its crunchy fried cheese crust is divine. I call it the grilled cheeses. This concludes another episode of the Belman Chronicles. You can find me on Medium at megas523.medium.com. Please click like and subscribe. I put a lot of work into this and would appreciate it if you can share it with your friends. Thank you.